What is good about all this?
Well, I mean, the thing is, like the ego tries to create a lofty reason.
So I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like search
Yeah,
for meaning.
no,
You live and but you live and you die. You live
yeah,
under these circumstances of this slow toxification of the
sure.
earth, and you die. And man search for meaning. Okay, well, you're searching for meaning while all this shit is happening, right?
Well, yeah,
You know what I mean? You know what I
I
mean?
know exactly what you're saying, and I think he's dealing with that very issue, and what he says that he would ask his clients or the people who came to see him, he's like, why don't you kill yourself? What's
Right.
the reason that you're not killing yourself? Why are you deciding to stay alive in the world? Have you explored that? Have you ever asked yourself, what's getting me out of bed? What's the reason behind this? And it doesn't have to be some lofty thing. It doesn't have to be, I'm staying alive because I want to, I want to become president and bring peace to the world. It can be some very simple thing. It can be your kids. It can be art. It can be because you like video games. It doesn't have to be some lofty fucking thing, even though to me, some of those ideas it's very difficult for me to swallow it, but it's finding that connection to the world. It's finding that
Right, but
place.
what is that all about? What is the meaning of all of it? I mean, that's the thing. Man's search for meaning, that there's some sort of a meaning to everything
And
we
I
do.
think it's an individual. It's like what you said when you have
Right.
these.
Each individual has their own
There
particular
you go.
meaning, and if they don't hit that frequency and they don't find that path, then they won't be happy.
Well, think of it, man. Like the times that this sounds really stupid, so go ahead and make fun of me for it. But I have a really amazing girlfriend. I have a really fucking cool Chihuahua. I fucking love those entities.
Right.
Now, there have been times in my life where I haven't had things like that,
Right.
where I haven't had
Yes.
those connections.
Right.
And I've noticed I tend to be more self-destructive in those states.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
I agree.
It's like
Yeah.
Louis C.K. has this really funny joke about how, like, if you don't have a kid, he's like, I can't die. There are people I have to feed. There are things that I have to take care of. They're like
Right.
it adds this whole other. So it's like finding that thing in your life. And it doesn't have to be an interpersonal relationship. It can be other things, but it's like the idea is find that thing, and that thing will be the thing that steers your ship through the
Right.
inevitable
And then,
turbulence.
but take it a step further. What is this purpose? What is this reason to stay alive? This reason to find this thing? This reason to do your job and stake your position here and have your influence here? What is it? What is it about choosing the correct frequency to you, whatever it is for you, whether it's pursuing a career as a professional bowler or a carpenter or a doctor or a writer, whatever the fuck it is for you? What is it about that pull? Like what is really happening? Is fulfilling your own personal desires and interests, is that really just a part of a gigantic equation, and that everybody is working and everybody has a certain part, and it's not stated, it's not written in stone. There's some wiggle room to go this way and that way, but in order to truly be happy, your instincts, your emotions, all these things are guiding you towards a certain direction, and that certain direction might be a part of some huge pattern that is impossible to see. You would have to get so high above the human race. You have to separate yourself from your history and your ideas about humans in order to see it all together, in order to see all the fucking different things that are happening all over the world, all together, simultaneously,
Yeah.
and consider the impact of the human race as a whole.
It seems like that because that's why there's trash men. That's why there's like these jobs. You're like, why are people actually doing that? That's crazy. It seems like makes a complete sense that way.
That's cool. Yeah.
We don't like to think that it makes sense because we like to think that we all have our own personal choice and we all have our own identity and we all have our own path that we can choose through this life, and you can change and you can become a different person. And I agree with all that. I'm not saying that it's 100% everything that you do is set in stone, but it seems to me that there is, without a doubt, there's a push towards a certain direction, and it might not be very exact. It might not be everyone gets pushed towards a certain direction, but if your instincts are to breed, to settle down, to procreate, to possess the coolest material possessions, to show off for the Joneses, to be successful at what you do, what are all those things doing? Well, all those things, they're all pushing innovation. They're all pushing the creation of new technology. They're all pushing the invention of new crazy fucking super things.
Yep.
It's almost like we don't even realize we are infected by a parasite. The parasite is technology. We're slowly giving birth to it over a period of a couple of decades until it gets to a point where it can take care of itself. And what we're doing is we're carrying it inside of our bodies. We're leaving it, in our houses. Everywhere we look, we're connected to it. And it is a life form. It is a life form.
Yeah.
We just don't recognize it as a life form because we're looking for something like us. We're looking for something that has cells and gives blood and has blood pumping through it. But if you look at like I have an old shitty Mac laptop. It's big and fat like a Bible, and it cranks open. It's all rickety and shit. The screen looks like dog shit.
Yeah.
It's only a few years old, man. It's like 10 years old.
Right.
That's insane. In 10 years, this thing has evolved like it's like comparing a monkey and comparing a person. But that shit took millions of years. This laptop into a MacBook Pro, that only took 10. That took 10 years. This big, fat, stupid brick, and now this thing's awesome. What is that? It's 15 years, 16 years? That's some crazy shit, man.
And the thing that it evolved into is using itself to make itself smaller. Like you're using each subsequent evolution as accelerating the next phase.
Yeah.
It's really cool, man.
Yeah, it's fascinating, man. It might be a life form. Like literally technology. It might be something that we don't consider it a life form because we need to consider life forms as being similar to us in some way. You can kill it, it bleeds, it eats, it shits. That's the only way we see it. We don't see this thing that we're making. We're literally creating its brain.
Yeah, but if you were watching from afar, you'd be like, oh, yeah, those creatures are innovating some sort of, I don't know.
Sure, if you were an alien intelligence, without a doubt, right? That's immediately what you would see.
That's Terrence McKenna, what he says is we are extruding psychic objects into the material universe. That's what human beings do. And if you look at the cities, it's like coral extrusions of matter coming from our minds, like coral reefs. And this is all moving towards the invention of some super tool.
Yes. Yeah. This is moving towards the invention of some new connection to the universe. Some new, we might be giving birth to some organism, some technological organism, something that can replicate, something that is sentient, it's aware of itself and can make decisions and alters its environment and chooses to replicate itself in a more advanced way, and then that one chooses to replicate itself in a more advanced way, and like literally within a year they could go through 10,000 years of fucking evolution. I mean, they can produce incredible results. If you really get to the point of you see how quickly technology and computers have evolved as compared to biology. If they're both life forms, it's not even close as to which one's going to win.
Yep.
The technology one's they're going to develop wormholes and portals, and we'll just be growing webbed feet because we live near water. You know what I mean? That shit'll take like a million years before people can hold their breath past 5 minutes.
Right.
Like there's one tribe in New Zealand that can hold their breath for 7 minutes. This is an evolutionary advantage. When they talk about like Eskimos have an evolutionary advantage where they could be outside in freezing weather and their hands don't get cold like ours do. Where your hands would get frostbite, you'd be fucked, and you might even lose your fingers. They can actually be fine. It's because their body has adapted to that environment. But that shit takes generations.
Yeah.
When that started, okay, they didn't even have writing. Okay.
Well, yeah, and the way that happens, Joe, is by, according to like hardcore evolutionists, it's random mutation. It's not even as though the necessity caused the thing to happen, as though like you, through the will of necessity that you need to survive in the cold longer, suddenly you get that. It's a mutation that happens to some lucky Eskimo, and because he has that mutation, he's a little bit more advanced and he reproduces more and passes that mutation on, and that's how it gets into the gene line, not from an intentionality. So it's even more random than necessity. It's just, when the moth accidentally mutates into the same color of the tree, that moth is going to survive more because the birds can't see it. And that moth,
is it accidental though? That's the big question.
That's the question.
Random mutation.